Hey y'all, happy Sunday. How's everybody doing? Hey L. Edwards. Hey Allegedly. Hey Slick Chicks, Visually Impaired Life. Hey Freddie, how you doing? Hey J True, how you doing? How you guys doing? So I just wanted to pop on to kind of give to a sure, in my opinions, with what I have been hearing over this past weekend, it has been a lot going on, and from what I understand, there's been so much going on that clearly, the things that have been going on this weekend are going to carry on, to this week, right? So I just want to come on and say what I got to say about what it is that I heard, right? Hey, LSA boss. Oh, thank you for letting me. Thank you, Allegedly, because I was going like, can y'all hear me? Y'all know me, right? Y'all know how I am. So, right. So first, just let me say some things that I found it very interesting this weekend that the boys have been fighting, right? The boys have been fighting because I think a lot absolutely went on today, right? And I want to talk a little bit about it. Do me a favor, somebody put my title, put what it is that I put as my title in the chat so that I won't forget anybody. Because we all know that when I start talking, I'm going to forget something, and I don't want to forget to address everything that I have heard, right? Child, you off J Truth. I heard that. Hey, Marvelous. Hey, Miss B. Hey, Pandora's Box. So anyway, let's start with um what I heard first, right? Now, mind you, y'all can help me fill in the blanks because I don't. There have been a lot of lives. Thank you, J True. There have been a lot of lives going on with a lot of very interesting conversations, and but I have read about through a lot of these conversations. But if I, miss something, just or misstated something, y'all let me know, right? So we're gonna start out today with a little bit of Jay Wilson's live, right? So look at my book. Oh, thank you, L. Edwards. I don't want to forget, you know what I mean, because I will. Let me try to put this right here, right, so I won't forget. Hopefully, I won't forget. Thank you, L. Edwards. So we're gonna start out with Jay Weasel, right? So Jay Weasel and Brian got into it in his chat, right? So the reason, from what I understand, the reason Jay Weasel and Brian got into it because Brian was talking about his ideas as they pertain to homosexuality, right? Now, here's the thing about Jay Weasel. Jay Weasel is the biggest demon on here, right? He wants to use, he likes to throw out there that he's a pastor. No, he wants to throw out that, hey, NGB, that he's the whole seminary school. And if you don't, if you don't study, if you have not been to seminary school, then you don't understand the word. So because you don't understand the word, you don't have a right to say something like, I believe that, being gay is a sin. And that Brian would, from what I understand, that's not only Brian said that, Rico said that too, from my understanding. Um, and they are gay men, right? That's why I said the boys are fighting. So Jay Wilson, his argument is theology, right? Because he clings to his warped idea of the word, right? The word and the law. He wants to morph it. That's why I call him a demon, because that is the same thing that Lucifer does, right? He warps God's word. But because Jay Wilson has went to seminary school and he has studied the word, but he tries to rationalize his lifestyle with trying to uh to 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 he likes to cling to his own definition. Hey Sheba Pisces. He likes to cling to his own, hey just Andrew, his own definition or his own understanding of what the word is, but he knows exactly what. See, there's the word, there's the law, and there's a person's own spirituality, which is their free will, right? So, right, he's not comfortable with his own sexuality. That's why he try to explain it away, right? So he likes to say that pretty much he tried this on me too, but he don't know nothing about my life, and he don't know nothing about where or how or I studied, right? So, but I be trying to let him have it because I don't have to prove myself to nobody, right? That's him insecure. That's his insecure self. But what I will do is come on here and correct what it is, his misunderstandings. I will come on here and correct his deceitful tongue, right? And because Brian, let me get back to Brian. So, hey, kind to me, hey everybody, please hit the like button, right? So he can never say he's gay. He's struggling. I heard he's still struggling at 53 years old. He's still struggling, right? And part of the reason why he's struggling is it because no matter what he reads, right, he still try to make it right in his head that him being gay is accepting of God, right? So, but like he twists the word and he twists the law, right? And he act like some people don't, and so a lot of people may not get what he's doing, but I absolutely get what he's doing. That's why I'm always calling it demon out, and I'm gonna continue to call it demon out. I don't care. He tries to rationalize it. Yes, he does, but he cannot, and he know he can't in his mind because he is uncomfortable with who he is because he has studied the word, the law, right? So let me get back to Brian though. I'm getting off course already, right? So when it comes to Jay Weasel and Brian, uh, Jay Weasel, Brian came up on Jay Weasel's panel, right? He came up on this panel and he spoke about what he believes, his beliefs as it pertains to his own sexuality, right? He's talking about what he believes when it comes to his own personal beliefs, via about his own lifestyle, right? Jay Wilson didn't like what he was saying, but you cannot. People are going to believe what they want to believe. See, here's the thing about the word and God and spirituality. When it comes to the law and the Bible, the law is the law. And it don't matter how many Greek and Roman, how you try to rationalize it with the Greeks and the Romans, what they did and all of this and all that. See, in the first place, you acting like the Greeks and the Romans, right? Because you want to rationalize. Now, I think it says something about, somewhere it says something about when it comes to the Greeks. It says a couple what something about a harlot for a boy and a cup of wine for a girl or something like that, right? Meaning, when it came to the Greeks and Romans, they liked to engage in certain types of activity with young boys. That's why he said he doesn't believe in, or he doesn't do pedestry, right? And pedestry ain't nothing but the pedo word, right? That's what when he says pedestry, he's saying pedo. He doesn't engage in the pedo word, right? But via your grinder app, you like young boys, right? Even what I understand, your friend, your special friend, what is his name? Mark, I believe his name is. Now it would appear to me that you are a sugar daddy, for Mark, because folks have said, that Mark is he's clearly younger than you. I've seen the photo. He's clearly younger than you. He doesn't live with you. I've heard that he's got a wife and some children, or he's got children, or a girlfriend and some children, or something. He got kids, right? So it appeared to me that you are a sugar daddy, right? You live alone. You are miserable. The reason why you don't like Tim Blaine, Mr. Tim, is because that is your future. Okay, that is your future. That's why you get into it with Tim Blaine, because you see that is your future, right? Alone with your material things, in the house by yourself with your dog. Okay, that is your future, right? That's why you don't like Tim. But let's get back to Brian and Jay Weasel. So Brian came on and he said that he believes that being gay is a sin. He says that he wants a wife and some children, right? This is him being torn and conflicted about his lifestyle. But all I got to say about that, Brian, your beliefs are your beliefs, right? So if you want to believe that being gay is a sin, but one day you do want a wife and some children, for the simple fact that you are not DL and around here living a lie, that and Rico too, he not here. He said he want a wife and some kids, but I commend them for not being DL and living a lie. Do you see what I'm saying? I commend them for that. There is nothing wrong with wanting a wife and a wife and some children. If you are a man, Jay Wilson was offended by that, right? Because they feel that way and they're conflicted that way. It is because that is what they're supposed to be doing. They are supposed to be wanting to raise a family. I believe they're both in their 30s, right? Maybe their mid 30s. Maybe Rico is a little younger than Briiine. I don't know. It is normal for you guys to be feeling that one day you want a wife and some children, right? But the problem comes in. Now, Jay Wilson is an old fool. I don't even know if he ever felt that way because he is a very, very, very selfish person. He is a very conflicted person because he cannot reconcile his lifestyle with the law, with the word that he studied. So he tried to explain it away. There is no explanation, right? So, but let me tell you this. Um, and he's called me homophobic over and over again, and all of this and all of that, because he does not he does not like to confront his truth. Jay Wilson has been very, very uncomfortable, and not only Jay Wilson, I see Muva being uncomfortable on Kimmy's panel, but we'll get to that too. But Jay Wilson, when Briiine said what he said, and Briiine is a gay man, um, that set him off. He said he here for the coin and all this and all that, but you were clearly triggered. It was not about the coin when you wouldn't let Briiine say what he had to say, right? You wouldn't let him finish saying what he had to say. You wanted to condemn him. You wanted to make it seem like he didn't know what he was talking about. Now Briiine is talking about how he feels, right? You can't change. You can't rationalize the way that somebody feels and thinks about what it is that they are going through with our own lives. That is him. If he want to think that about himself and his lifestyle, that is him. To the point to where he said something about you know, they got one point in time that they've always had this conversation about, were you born gay or is it a choice? Jay Wilson at one point in time goes back and said, was it your choice or were you groomed? Right? Meaning did somebody assault you as a child and groom you to be gay? Right? That is very offensive to me because, see, it would appear to me that a lot of gay men, I'm not going to say all of them, that a lot of gay men don't like to have that conversation about molestation, right? And we know that in certain circumstances, some of these men that call themselves gay um, um, is because they were molested and groomed, right? And so I'm not saying that this happened to Briiine, and I'm not even saying that it happened to Rico. I'm talking about the question, the thing that came out of Jay Wilson's mouth, right? Some gay men don't like to have that conversation about somebody may have touched them when they were a child and they were groomed, and so now because of that, they feel that they are gay. Now, a lot of us know that sometimes there is a difference between you liking a thing and your body responding to a thing, right? There is a difference, right? But now, if you've never had therapy for this, or you never told nobody what happened to you as a child, and even if you told somebody what happened to you as a child, especially a parent, they may or may not want to believe it. In the Black community, we don't believe in mental health care, so even if they believed you, they still then go on and get you no therapy for the horrible thing that happened to you, right? So some men that have been assaulted in this way will think that they are gay simply because their body responded to what was doing to them and the body reacted positively. I'm trying to put this the best way I can. The body responded positively to what was happening to them because it felt good to the body but not the brain. See, there's a difference between the body and the brain, right? And if you don't get help for this, you may grow up to think, especially if it happened to you over a number of years, right? You may grow up to think that you are gay because your body responded to what was being done to you, right? So if you don't get therapy, like I said once again, it is possible for you to grow up assuming because your body liked what was done to it because it responded in a positive way that you are gay. And that is not necessarily true. And a lot of gay men don't like to have that conversation. They don't like to have the conversation but that is just a fact, right? So when you hear somebody like a Briiine say, I think that homosexuality is a sin. One day I do want to have a wife and kids. Things of that nature. And I'm not saying this is what happened to Briiine, but for Jay Wilson to ask that question, to slip that under there, it's absolutely repulsive to me. And you are a snake for that, and you was wrong for putting that out there, Jay Wilson. You was wrong for coming at him like that, right? And because we know a lot of the times that men don't tell. Men don't tell. They tell you as a little boy, boys don't cry, right? So take whatever it is that you take it and shut up about it. And don't cry about it. Don't tell nobody about it. Don't whine and complain about it. You got to move it right along, right? That's what they tell boys. So a lot of boys, a lot of men that are now boys have gone through something horrific like this, and they never told a soul, right? Say it happened. Say this bad thing happened to you, and it is your mama boyfriend that did it, or your mama husband that did it, or even your own father, or one of your uncles, or somebody in the church, or somebody in the school. Somebody at the Boy Scouts, or somebody at the Boys and Girls. You can't never tell nobody. So you grow up your whole life because your body responded positively to this, and you didn't get help. You may or may not have told somebody. So you grow up thinking that you are gay. So therein lies the conflict, right? Because you as a grown man say, I want to have a wife and a kid, but I must be gay because my body responded positively for this. And because I was groomed to like this sort of thing, I am now conflicted, right? So, Jay Wilson, you know this, and you was wrong for that. And any gay man that doesn't want to have this, some of them want you to think that they were all born this way, and that is just not the truth. So let's talk, but I just really want to mention that, right? You may have been groomed to think that it is normal. It is called normalized dysfunction. And let me say, a lot of the stuff that I saw this weekend was the normalizing of dysfunction. Okay? Somebody put normalized dysfunction in the chat. Okay? Now, Jay Wilson, I don't know what happened to you as a child. I don't know if you felt like you were born this way. I don't know if something happened to you in the church that you cling to so hard and you still trying to rationalize it. But for you to come down on Briiine because he told you how he felt about the way that he's living right now and his wants and his needs versus his wants and his needs, he's torn. For you to come in and try to rationalize it using the word, thank you, Cosmic Girl, is wrong. Because every time some gay man, and Rico said the same thing, they think it's a sin to be gay, right? You got a problem with it. They don't understand the word. You ain't studied. You lazy. You call Briiine lazy because he didn't study the word. Because he feels the way that he feel about his own dang on life. You cannot dictate to somebody what they feel about their own life, whether they studied the Bible or not. His mama told him it's a sin. Rico's mama said it was a sin, you know. But because it's normalized dysfunction, this is what they're torn. It's a mixed message. And you can't say that they are wrong because they have not studied the word. You have studied the word. You know the law. You know the law, Jay Wilson. That's why you got a problem with it. You are a snake. You are a deceiver. Okay? You are a child of the deceiver. That's what you are, Jay Wilson. You are a child of deceiver because you try to manipulate the word. You try to manipulate God's law. Now, let me tell you something why Jay Wilson got a problem with this, okay? Because he is who he is for whatever reason, right? But when it comes to the Bible and the law, it's very deceitful when you try to rationalize it away. Because there is the word homosexuality is not mentioned in the Bible, right? So the sin is not homosexuality. The sin is not because you feel like you are attracted to and you only be with men for whatever reason, right? The sin is in the act. The sin is the act. So you can feel like you are attracted to men if you are a man for as long as you live, or even a woman. You can have this same sex attraction forever and a day. But for as long as you don't act on it, you are not committing a sin. The sin is the act. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all, the sin is acting on it. And when you act on it in a fleshly manner, that is the sin. Okay, I'm just going to keep it above. That is the sin, right? It is normalized dysfunction. A lot of it is perversion. Not all of it, but a lot of it, like when you are that grown man that's grooming this young man because you have done something to him and you're grooming him to think that this is normal, especially when you see his body responding to it. That is the perversion. Okay? That is the sin. So when it comes to a situation like that, and like I said, the child has never got help for it, who is the greatest sinner here? The one that brought this to this child, or the one that's conflicted? So you have to ask yourself that, right? Because we know, especially when it comes to men, especially if somebody has done that to them, some of them, if they have been offended by that and they don't get help, some of them grow up and they do somebody else like that. Okay? Some of them grow up and repeat what was done to them. Repeat the hurt that was done to them. They go and reenact that. Okay? That is the perversion, right? That is you trying to normalize dysfunction. Now that is on you. If you go up and somebody did that to you and you do it to somebody else, and you know how it hurt you, and then you go reoffend somebody else like that, that is perverse and that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. And unfortunately, it is a lot of that goes on, right? So, Jay Wilson, you are not comfortable with your sexuality via your studies, and no matter how much you study and how much you read and how much you rationalize in the first place, how in the world are you comparing the Greeks? Anything the Greeks had to do with anything these Hebrews is over here doing. That is manipulation right there, because you cannot compare the two. Okay? You cannot. It was wrong. It is wrong for you to try to lump in the unjust with the just. Okay? Mixing them people together, stirring them all in the same pot. That is wrong. You keep talking about, they was talking about what they was doing, what the prostitutes was doing in the temple. No, honey, they just weren't talking about that. They're talking about across the board. Okay? When it comes to that act. Like I said, you can feel this way your whole life, and unless you act on it, the sin is the act. Okay? But I'll never hear him talking about the sin being the act. I'll never hear him talking about that. I hear him trying to rationalize it and niggas playing it away, but I don't never hear him talk about that little bit of information. You know why? It's because he reads and he reads and he reads, and he can't justify the fact that his flesh is weak. Okay? There's a verse in the Bible that says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Okay? And he kept talking to Briiine, when you going to be delivered? When you going to be delivered? When you going to be delivered? That ain't nothing but the devil. Okay? That ain't nothing but the devil. You got mad at him because he told the truth about how I suspect a lot of gay men feel. And you didn't appreciate that. And you tried to shout him down. Well, you lazy because you don't read him. You don't blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. You can read until you die, Jay Wilson. It still ain't going to be right. It still ain't going to be right. All right? That act, what your flesh is so weak about, Mr. Bring the Lube, you ain't never going to be able to rationalize it. No matter how much you read, honey, it still ain't never going to be right. That act, when you act upon, your flesh gets so weak that you act upon it, it ain't never going to be right. That act is always going to be a sin. according to the Bible. Jay Wilson. Okay? And Brian got a right to feel how he want to feel. People be talking about conversion and all of this and all of that. You know what I mean? For whatever reason. A lot of this stuff is demented in the first place. But they don't like when y'all get on here when one gay man has that opinion about what he's doing because he's convicted. See, Jay Wilson is conflicted, so he is not even comfortable with himself after all this time. So how can you talk to Brian about his deliverance? Brian might not even feel like he need to be delivered for nothing at all. Brian may choose to never act on this again in his whole life. Thank you, Claude. Do you see what I'm saying? But like I said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And if you give into the flesh, you breaking the law. And Jay Wilson know that. He know it. That is my issue with Jay Wilson. You are a deceiver and you are a blasphemer. And you know it. See, what the thing is, it also talks about in the Bible. Say you are coming to you want to bring the word of the most you want to bring the words in the Bible. You want to what they say, save somebody that's never even heard anything, never even read the King James Bible. They may have their own type of religion. See, this is where the Anglos went wrong. I always try to convert somebody, the missionaries, into what you think is right. But everything they think is wrong, their spirituality is wrong because you want them to accept what you think is the one true religion. See, that's the issue. That's the problem with religion. And that's how you try to control somebody. And you manipulating the word. It is blasphemy. Okay? So you got these missionaries, and they want to, you may or may not be a Christ follower, right? You may or may not have ever even heard of anything or anybody called a Christ consciousness, or you may not have even ever heard of Jesus, right? See, this is what happened to our people, some of our people, right? They ain't never heard, they steal you from your land, and they bring you over here. Now, first, before they start stealing you, they try to push Christianity, their version of Christianity, on the people that have never heard of a Jesus Christ in their life. But they have their own religion, and they have their own spiritualities. But they said yours is evil, and yours is bad. But here, let me deliver you, because my religion is the true religion. And if you convert yourself to my religion and your this true religion, you're going to be saved, right? That is wrong. That is religion. I don't agree with that part of religion. I agree with spirituality, right? Because everybody worships their version of God in their own way. You can't push your version on somebody else's version. C.J. Wilson is like those people, those Anglos that went and did that to some of our ancestors, right? You try to push what you believe on Brian. And Brian is telling you, no, I don't have to think like you think because I believe this right here. My mama said this. And because my mama said it, this is what I believe. Even though I'm going through what I'm going through, my mama told me this, and I believe it. I believe it. Now that I am adult, I still believe it. But I want this, but I've been taught this, and I believe this, and I'm conflicted about it. See, Jay Wilson, you was taught the same thing that was taught to Brian. But you went to seminary school and you trying to manipulate what it is that's Brian and Rico and whoever else that are torn like they are torn. You can't even say the word gay. You say same gender love. You sound like a freaking idiot in the first place saying that crap. because you are uncomfortable with who you are. Okay? And until you get right with your God in your way and be honest with your God in your own way, you are always going to be conflicted. And they have a right to think however they want to think about themselves. Anyway, I could talk about that for an hour, right? The man is disgusting. I'm blessed. Who blessing you? Because you best believe it ain't the Most High God that's blessing you, honey. You know exactly who blessing you with all that material stuff. Because you sold your soul a long time ago. And you still try to nigga explain it away. Even in the Bible say God can't serve. You cannot serve. You cannot serve man, money, and God. But you always here for the coin. You always manipulating the word. You blessed. You blessed. You blessed. Who blessing you? Because it ain't the Most High God. It is your father, Satan. That's who blessed you, Jay Wilson. And you know it is. That's who blessing you. And what is her name? I heard Miss Cruiser say something that is very true. People manipulate the word judgment. She said, we all are going to judge. But in the Bible, it says you're not supposed to judge hypocritically. Right? Jay Wilson judges hypocritically. You judge it hypocritically because you want everybody to think like you think. And if everybody don't think like you think, because you have done all this reading and all this studying and all of this and blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? You done turned it around to fit your own narrative. If they don't think like you think, they are wrong. That is not true. That is on you. That's why you was triggered with Briiine. Okay? You know. And so, all I can say to you is, Briiine, there's nothing wrong with you wanting a wife and a children, a family. One day, you or Rico or whoever else, no matter what you done in your past, right? If you don't want to break the law and do what it is that is abominable to God, which is that act, that physical act, when your flesh get weak, okay, don't do it. That is called free will. I heard somebody on here talking about trying to explain away free will. God clearly states that he gave us free will. He gave us free will for a reason, because you choose to break the law or not. And I'm talking about the laws of God. You don't have to. He is giving you a choice whether you can choose to follow his word and not break the laws, or you can choose not to follow his word and break the laws. That is on you. That is on you what you choose to do. That is called free will. I heard somebody on talk about predestined. You are destined to do A, B, and C, or D. If God say he give you free will, that's what he meant. You can always to choose. That's just like say you are just a random criminal, right? You can choose whether to break in somebody's house, because it is against the law, and possibly get caught. You do it enough times, you are going to get caught. You're going to get caught by a bullet, or you're going to get caught by the police. But even knowing this, because you know it's wrong, you know you're breaking the law, you can choose to do it or not to do it. Right? You can choose not to break in somebody's house. You can choose not to break the law. You can choose not to want to get caught coming in somebody's house by a bullet or the police. That is a choice. That's how it works with free will. You choose to break the law or not break the law. Right? I come down here in the flesh all the time and cuss a person slap out. Right? But if you're still listening, you know that I realize why I do the way that I do it. That's why I can't be bothered. I'm absolutely always unbothered because I know my mission. Okay? I'm just saying. This is something to think about. So in the midst of me cussing you out, are you getting them gems? That's all I'm worried about. Because it's not my mission to come down here and save nobody. It's only to come down here and tell my truth and to judge not hypocritically. Right? Because I always say one ass ain't no better than the other one, and I mean that we are all just on different levels. But if you are a demon, and I'm coming down here, and the only people that I come down here because that is the first place is these freaking demons that I see floating around here. Right? That is my mission. Online, offline. I've always walked my life that way because I am the righteous, and I know my mission. Okay. So when I'm talking to a J Weasel or any other demon on here, on or offline, that is who I'm talking to. Okay? I'm not talking to his chosen. I am not talking to um, um, those that want to follow the law, that are trying hard every day to get out of the flesh, because we all are trying hard every day to get out of the flesh. I'm not trying to deceive nobody, thump no Bible over your head, because everybody's sin is different, right? We all fall short. We mostly all fall short because it's like I said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Period. Right. So anyway, that's what I got to say about the Jay Weasel and the Briiine situation. So evidently that conversation carried on to a couple of panels, right? But the one that I was most interested in was Pizarro's panel. Because on Pizarro's panel that I read about, and I didn't even know this had went on until I was listening to Kimmy's video this morning. Then I had to go over there and see what was said over there, right? So evidently on Pizarro's panel, this conversation came up again. Briiine was up on the panel first talking, and all of this and all that. So Rico, now I also read ball back, and I heard before I get to that, I read ball back to Blurps. She had a panel talking about it, right? And at one, I don't know if this is the first time that Rico came up about this particular subject, but I heard Rico up there, saying how he feels about the conversation that Briiine and Jay Weasel was having, and what he feels about the subject. And when Rico was talking, he was saying that he knew that he was attracted to men. He said that as early as 6 years old. Now, at 6 years old, I don't understand unless you have been groomed, unless something has happened to you, how you are even aware of your sexuality at 6 years old. Okay? That's a red flag to me, right? But anyway, he feels that homosexuality is a spirit, right? A evil spirit, right? He says at 6 years old, that spirit came on him, and he realized that he was attracted to men. And then he said that now mind you, he calling this a spirit. Pay attention to his words. He's calling this a spirit, right? And then he said that at 10 years old, before he said that, he also said that his father, which is actually his stepfather, taught him everything he knew about sex, right? Remember that, right? Spirit came on him at 6 years old. He was taught everything he knew about sex from his father, who was actually his stepfather, because he said he didn't meet his real father until he was 26 years old, right? Then he says that there was an act performed on him, and he was performing an act on other children when he was 10 years old, right? What that tells me is, and I don't even know if he ever said it or not, or if he even hinted at it or not, but I believe this spirit that he's calling came on him at 6 years old was actually a human being. And I believe that spirit that taught him everything he know about sex, taught him to why he feels attracted to men and all of this and all that. I think that something may have happened to him between him and his stepfather. His stepfather may have violated him in some way. And that is his way of explaining it. I also heard his mama get very defensive about that. And maybe the reason why he's explaining it that way because his mom doesn't want to, acknowledge that, right? So, but anyway, you said the spirit came on him at 6, and uh, all this and all that. What I just said, right? Now, sometimes when something like that has happened to you, you will go on and reenact that with other children, right? So I came to find out later on that the person that he said he done the act on was the stepdaddy's kids, and one of the little girls had a physical disability or whatever. The mom said she was drinking, back then, and the kids was in the room, and kids are gonna do what kids are gonna do. Well, what that kid was doing at 10 years old was acting out on reacting, if you will, something that was done to him, right? That is what I believe. And I'm just gonna keep it above. So when you hear Rico say something about a spirit came out on him when he was 6 years old, and he realized he liked, guys and all of this and all that. Now I'm not saying this happened because I'm not in Rico's house. That is what I got from it when I was listening. I think the spirit that came on him at 6 years old was a human being that groomed him, right? That assaulted him in that way. And when he was 10 years old, he was acting that out. Now he said that when he was 16 years old, he was doing what was done to him, right? It's very sad. They say he was 16, but it was not until he was 16 years old that he actually engaged, full blown activity right there, right? So this is what I was hearing. Now I don't understand hearing all of this. Now we know that people throw shots at people when it comes to these YouTube streets. We know that Rico done a lot to people, but I really felt like Rico was being made the bad guy, I guess because of, conflict that Rico done had with Jay Wilson, even conflict he done had with James Caldwell, aka Muva over there, right? But I heard Rico say that, right, on Blurp's platform, right? Then it spills over into Pizarro's platform. And on Pizarro's platform, Briiine was talking, still explaining what he meant, all this and all that. And at one point, so now mind you, I'm redballing this, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong about this, right? So I'm redballing because I done heard via Kimmy's channel that Rico's mama came up on the panel with him. Now Rico was talking and explaining what he meant by saying what he said, right? But evidently his mama was there, and his mama started talking. Now, his mama said that she was coming on in defense of Rico. Now, I believe her when she say she was coming on in defense of Rico when she was on Pizarro's platform. She may have even been a little inebriated. I don't know. But a whole lot was discussed, and she started, we get into that, Trey, was discussed. And let me just say this. When it comes to YouTube, even if you're not familiar with YouTube, let me tell you something. Rico's mama, Rico, anybody that's listening, YouTube is not therapy. YouTube is no kind of therapy. And when you come on here, you're trying to have a serious discussion about your life, those people that you have gotten into it with are going to try to throw it right back in your face. Okay? So his mom started talking. First she was talking in the background. Then she started having a full-on conversation, telling Rico to hush and all of this and all of that. Right? She said she was coming in defense of Rico. I do believe that last night that it started out that way. Now it ended up and carried on into Kimmy's panel. It was her defending herself. Okay? Beat you to what, Claude? Did somebody come in here janky or something? Because I didn't know. I didn't block them out. Let me start paying to the chat. But anyway, I felt like it went from defending Rico to defending herself, right? And her life choices when it came to Rico. Because I had told you before what I felt like Rico was trying to say without saying about the spirit and all this and all that. I believe that something happened between him and his stepfather. right? And he was reacting. And y'all please hit the like button. When he was 10 years old, he was doing what was done to him, right? That's why he says the first time that he engaged in a homosexual act was when he was 16 years old. Because I think before that, early on, he had been assaulted, right? And remember when I said early on in the video that sometimes when a child is done that way, they will go on to do that to somebody else. So I think that's what he was explaining when he was 10, right? That's what it sounded like to me. So the mama gets on and she's saying all of this and all of that. She's going back and forth, but she got so much to say. Then she starts telling the world about her own life story. Now, this is where you went wrong. Like I said, YouTube is not therapy. YouTube is not a place to find redemption or atonement or absolution or anything like that. I think that now that she's older and Rico is her only child, she wants to defend her upbringing of him, right? That's what I believe, as well as some things that he might have seen, because she mentioned that she is, bisexual. She like men and women, but she's saying, you know, she'll say she done that, and she'll say it's against the law of God. She knows it's a sin, and then she'll turn around, she'll call Rico the F word, and all of this and all that. So how you gonna call him something, this, but you don't want to be called. Y'all basically or both, delving into the fleshly world of same-sex relationships, right? So you can't call him out on something that you do in your own self. This is you reconciling this in your mind. This is the normalizing of dysfunction, right? That is what you're doing, right? So she started talking about how she was at one point in time. I don't know if she said this last night on Pizarro's panel, but today she said on Kimmy's panel that she was and they were talking about generational curses last night. Somebody asked her, did she think it was a sin to be an alcoholic? It was a generational curse to be an alcoholic. And she said that what she was talking about was genetics, right? When it comes to genetics and heredity, you can pass down alcoholism, right? Like if your mama was an alcoholic, what you would do is if you're not an alcoholic anymore, by the time you have them, is tell them that, hey, pay attention to alcohol and drug use, because it isn't my daddy was an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, and I don't want that passed down to you. That's heredity, right? Whether you call it a generational curse or you have that encoded in your DNA, it's absolutely a world of confusion. You can put it any way you want to put it, right? But you can't pass it down from generation to generation. That's why you tell your kids, hey, never abuse drugs or alcohol, because it is in our family line to be alcoholics and or drug addicts. So you got to be careful so that you won't become a alcoholic or a drug addict yourself, because we are genetically predisposed to this type of dysfunction when it comes to alcohol and drug abuse, right? That's what you have to tell your kids if you're able to do that. You may or may not understand that. So she called it a generational curse, right? So there was a lot of other stuff said. Fast forward to Kimmy's live today. Now Kimmy's live is very, 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 very interesting, right? So Kimmy is up there talking. Let me say this before I forget. Jay Wilson and Kimmy. Now I didn't hear this part, but I heard on Kimmy's live that, was it Kimmy's live or somebody's live, that, like I said, I'm red balling all of this, right, to give this wrap up, right? Because I'm not going to sit before all day long listening to every word, but I will red ball it to give my synopsis of the situation, right? Now, is it true, y'all, that somebody offered Jay Wilson, was it $250 to drop Kimmy off the panel? And if he would have gotten that $250, he would have dropped her off the panel the way that he did Trish for money. And him and Kimmy supposed to be cool, right? So I heard, so I think it was on Kimmy's chat. that somebody was, hinting at offering money for Kimmy to drop 300, I think, to drop Jay Wilson off the panel for money or whatever, whatever. And then I heard him say that if y'all give Kimmy $300, she could drop me off the panel or something like that, right? And Kimmy said, hold up. I heard you when you was agreeing if somebody give you 200. I heard you saying on your panel that you would take the $250 to drop me off your panel, Jay Wilson, but there is no amount of money that would make you that they could give me to drop you off my panel. I don't move like that, right? And Jay Wilson was like, well, that's you and all of this and all that. But if they offer you this and you take it, then absolutely drop me off the panel. Because that is how much of a snake you are. Okay, that is how we know that when it comes to networking, you got to tread lightly when it comes to Jay Wilson's panel, because he don't like no women in particular. He don't like no women. He don't like no men. He don't like nobody. But he will be more than happy to put a coin on your head, right? And I think Kimmy felt it. She may or may not felt a way about it, but she said, "Hey, you may be willing to do that to me, but I would never do that to you." And I think that says a lot. I want to mention that real fast because I heard that, right? And so, yeah, I can't stand him. He just is a whole demon, right? I found it very interesting and very shady. But anyway, on Kimmy's panel today, y'all please hit the like button, share the video, okay? So on Kimmy's panel today, they were talking about the events of last night. And at one point in time, I think people thought that Rico brought his mom on. But Rico didn't bring his mom on. She inserted herself in Rico's conversation. She overheard him talking on Pizarro's panel, and then she just started talking. So he didn't bring her on. There is typing in the background. Who's typing in the background, Cosmic Girl? Because ain't nobody up here. There is typing in the background. What you talking about, Cosmic Girl? Because ain't nobody typing in the background over here. Do you see it? Because I'm on here by myself. Ain't nobody. I ain't even dropped the link. Do you see something else going on? Because y'all know StreamYard be tripping, right? But anyway, so we fast forward to Kimmy's panel. They're talking about, it was some clicking noises over here on my channel. Maybe it was me, child. I don't know. But anyway, fast forward to. Do you still hear the clicking? By the way, because maybe my StreamYard is messing up. Ain't no telling. No, it's a clicking sound. Is it a clicking sound now? Do y'all still hear the clicking sound? Right, there is a clicking sound. It's noise. Oh, I guess it's my audio. Well, I got this microphone in my ear, and the clicking sound y'all probably hear is the speaker part of my let me move it out the way. The thing that you talk through, the part was connected to my shirt and it wasn't in my ear, and the thing that I got my glasses on is rubbing up against it. That's probably what y'all hearing when you move. That's what it is. It's rubbing up against the I guess the volume. That's what it is when I move. Thank you for saying it, Corinne. That's what y'all hearing. The chain thing that I got on my glasses is rubbing up against it. It's better now, yeah, because I moved it out the way. That's what it was. That's what it was. But anyway, thanks for letting me know. But anyway, so we go to Kim Pound. They talking about Rico didn't bring his mom up. She inserted herself pretty much, right? So they're talking about that, and also before I get to that, Jay Wilson, who think he better than somebody else, had the nerve to be in Pizarro's chat trolling the panel, with all his learned ways and all his I'm better than everybody else ways. You down there because you uncomfortable with the conversation, trolling these people on this panel. I was like, ooh, the nerve. Let me show y'all this. Y'all see that? Talking about when his mama got up there talking this testimony service, because she was telling people about her life story and how she moved with Rico and all of this and all that. He was calling it a testimony service over there. He's trolling Pizarro's chat, right? He just said something like, people still mad about yesterday. That's when Briiine went up there talking. Wasn't nobody mad but you, devil. You was mad at Briiine. Because you didn't appreciate him talking about his truth because it went up against your truth or the truth that you want to put it up there. So that's what you meant by that. But you still trolling and trolling, you know. And this is what I was talking about when I read this right here. Right, so go figure that's what I meant by that. That is me letting y'all know what I think about what it is that Rico was saying, right? And also Rico's mom, she still refuses to believe the fact that when Rico, I don't even know if he ever told his mom that his stepdad, may have done some inappropriate things to him or not. But I know that she doesn't want to believe that, right? That's why I said YouTube is no place for redemption. And Kimmy told the truth to where when she said, like when you going back and forth trying to reconcile your mind to what happened to you as a child and you were still around that parent, you got to accept the fact that that was them in that stage. And if you want to, get over that fact, you just kind of have to deal with it and move on, right? I agree with that, right? Right. That's normalized dysfunction. That's right, mind your own. That's normal. It's what we're talking about. Normalized dysfunction, right? So anyway, we go over to Kimmy's chat, right? And so they're having a conversation, and Rico pops up again. And his mom is on there again. Now at this point in time, she's trying. I don't think she said she's defending her son, and she would defend her son with her life, and I believe that. But what she's doing today, what she was doing today, in my opinion, was trying to defend herself, right? Per her life choices, right? Now I don't know if she said it last night or not, but I heard her say today that she was a teen mom, right? She had Rico when she was 15 years old. I say because I don't even know what that means. But anyway, let me stop reading. So she said she was a teen mom. She said the first time that she had relations with a boy, she got pregnant. Do you see what I'm saying? She's telling us all of that. And then she said, I think she said when she was 18, she got married to Rico's stepfather, right? And I think that and she thinks in her mind that she still loves him right to this day. And I think that she feels that way is because she really appreciates the fact that even though she had a child and he had children too, but even though she had a child, he was still willing to marry her. And because she said that she a traditionalist and she old school and all of this and all of that, right? Yeah, his mom said she was 48 years old. She younger than me. Do you see what I'm saying? But she also has she's torn in her spirit, and she's trying to reconcile her mind because she said she's a traditionalist as well, right? And so she knows that Rico has done made a lot of mistakes in his life. She, in my opinion, probably when she was raising Rico, he seen too much. Part of that, I think, is because she did have him at such a young age. Do you see what I'm saying? And she said she was drinking back then. Hey, Yolanda. Thanks. And y'all please be a part of the replay game. Thank you, Yolanda. A lot of that is because she was doing what she was doing. She was trying to do her, and she was a young mother. So anyway, she said this man married her for whatever reason when she was 18 years old, and he already had kids too. And one of those kids was this child with the physical disability, right? Right, Cosmic Girl. I will agree with that. I will agree with that. You know. And yeah, she was still growing herself, mind your own. Right. And so there is no playbook when it comes to raising your kids, especially at that age. But when you become an adult, and you may even be cognitive of the fact at that young age, if you're raising your child, that hey, maybe I should not be showing this to my kid or doing this in front of my kid. You know what I mean? But what if she seen all of that stuff when she was growing up too? Right? Because I heard Rico say that he ain't never seen his daddy, which is his stepdaddy, lay his hand on his mom. Number one, there are many forms of abuse. You do not have to put your hands on somebody to be abusing them. You do not. There are many forms of domestic violence, right? Mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, and physical abuse, sexual abuse. This is all dysfunction. This is all can be under the guise of domestic violence. So I just want to say this, ladies. Nobody, no man, don't ever have to put his hand on you to be abusing you. There are a lot of forms of domestic violence, right? So he goes on to say that he ain't never seen his daddy, which is his stepdaddy, and he didn't meet his real daddy till he was 26. But he ain't never seen his daddy put his hands on his mama, but he did see his granddaddy put his hands on his grandmama, right? He did see that. Now, when it goes, and she said that her father was an alcoholic, right? Now, it's very interesting that she say that. And it's very interesting that she had a child when she was 15. And it's very interesting the fact that she don't even want to acknowledge the fact that Rico may have been touched inappropriately. It's very interesting when you hear her talk about saying that she has also engaged in same sex relations, right? And when she said that, and then she said that she a traditionalist, that's double minded, right? So I'm thinking, well, did somebody touch you inappropriately in your household? Do you see what I'm saying? To the fact that you don't even want to acknowledge that it happened to Rico, you know, because you never want that to happen to your child because you know exactly how it feels because it happened to you, right? But your dad, you're saying that your dad is an alcoholic. He was abusive to your mom, which tells me that he was also abusive to you. It's a cycle of violence, right? But in her mind, she's trying to normalize this, right? She's trying to normalize this dysfunction. Y'all gotta pay attention to the words that's going on, right? Right, mind your own. That's more than likely what happened. So when she's talking about she's engaged, she has relationships with women, and at one point in time she was saying that when it comes to women, a lot of that, even before you get to the actual act, is emotional, right? Which is the truth. I do believe her when she said a lot of that, when she's having these woman on woman relationships, a lot of it is emotional, right? Because when it comes to women, now we have seen this a lot, like even in the movies, right? Take The Color Purple for instance. A lot of people didn't like the part of The Color of Purple when you seeing Celie and Suge interacting in that way, right? Oh, really? That's very interesting. Say boss. Bloop. I guess he ain't getting enough donations quick enough, right? But anyway, but that's funny. Thanks for saying it. And hurried up and he muted the card to child. But you know that he Mr. Richie Rich over there. But I'm not gonna get sidetracked. Like I was giving the analogy of The Color Purple, right? A lot of people didn't like it when that movie came out all them years ago, because a lot of people didn't know what they was looking at, right? They didn't like the part of The Color Purple, which was about women, which was about domestic violence, and a whole lot of other issues, right? So, but they didn't like the part that they hated the most, more than what Mister was doing to Celie and was trying to do to her sister, and what had been done to Celie via her stepfather. The thing that they hated most, out of all of that, the thing that they hated most, the thing that they shouted out about, was the relationship between Celie and Suge Avery, right? That's what the public, some people was, enraged about that part right there, and they spoke publicly about it, right? But what they didn't understand was what they were saying was when it came to Suge Avery, when that happened, when Suge Avery says, "Wait, Miss Celie, You still a virgin. And when she said that, she said that Mr. just climbed on top of her. No, she didn't like it, the way it felt when Mr. climbed on top of her and he did his business, right? And she was talking about when they had relations, right? And she said, no, I don't like it. He climbed on top of me and do his business. And then she said, well, Miss Seeley, it sounds like he going to the bathroom on you. And Miss Seeley said, that's what it feel like, right? So fast forward to the to Suge Avery. Now mind you, this is emotional attachment, right? To Suge Avery and Miss Seeley. Suge Avery showing Miss Seeley that type of affection. She said, Miss Seeley, you still a virgin, right? We all saw the movie, right? And then we can assume that they went on and had a sexual relationship that time, right? Because we saw her pulling her dress down, her sleeve, her dress down, and all of this and all that, right? And so, but the reason why it was more emotional when it came to that is because Celie had never known any type of you know um any that type of relationship, that type of sexual relationship with anybody. She had never felt that type of affection, right? Because she was abused by her stepdad. She thought her stepdad was her kid's father. She thought her stepdad was her dad. She didn't even know that her stepdad was not her dad. It was her stepdad. She didn't know that. She didn't know that her children was not by her, like her bio dad. It was by her stepdad, which means that they were not all blood related, because he was just another guy that really wasn't no kin to her except for by marriage, but he abused her in this way. And she had 2 kids by him, right? But and all of that happened with men. So she had never known that type of sexual relationship with anybody. She had never enjoyed that type of thing until it came to Suge Avery. So it was more about the emotion, but and not so much about the act, right? If y'all understand what I'm saying, right? It was a book and a movie. Zora Neale Hurston wrote the book, and Steven Spielberg directed the movie, LSA Boss. And so we saw that. So when you hear Rico Mama saying that, when it comes to women engaging in those type of relationships, a lot of this stuff is emotional, right? And like I said, that's what they were seeing in The Color Purple. There was a movie, I think it was called Betsy or something like that, with Queen Latifah, when she was this singer, this famous singer, Betsy. I can't think of her last name, but she had a girlfriend, you know what I mean? And the girlfriend liked men, but she liked the girl. Part of the reason why back then is because the only type of situation when it came to sex for a lot of women, especially back then, was via abuse. That's why you see, what is her name? When she say girl child ain't safe in a family of men's. Toni Morrison, I'm sorry. Girl child ain't safe in a family of men's, right? What was her name? Bessie Smith. Thank you, Cloud. Um, who said girl child ain't safe in a family of men's? I can't think of her name. That was Oprah's character, right? That's what she meant by girl child ain't safe in a family of men's, especially back then, right? But then, because the only abuse that they've gotten from the men is abuse, so they don't know any current. Or Miss Sophia is saying what she went through, and then at one point she say, "Girl, child ain't safe in a family of men," right? When she's talking to Silly, and then the South, then Celia she says, "The South be over soon, but heaven lasts always," meaning that you're going through this now, but when you go through heaven, you won't be going through this, no more, right? I don't think it was Alice Walker or Toni Morrison. I think it was Zora Neale Hurston that wrote that book. But I'm gonna go back and check it. Definitely not Toni Morrison. Possibly Alice Walker, because Alice Walker loved Zora Neale Hurston's work, right? So I'm gonna have to go back and check it. But anyway, thanks y'all. So anyway, either Zora Neale Hurston or Alice Walker wrote The Color Purple. One of them, but it wasn't Toni Morrison. It was not Toni Morrison. It was not. So anyway, it was Alice Walker. Thank you, Verbal. I know Alice Walker loved Zora Neale Hurston's work, and Zora Neale Hurston. Well, if y'all don't know the story of Zora Neale Hurston and the reason why Alice Walker loved her work, y'all got to do some research on that, right? So, but anyway, we're getting off subject here. Forgive me for misspeaking. And the reason why I thought Zora Neale Hurston wrote it, as opposed to Alice Walker, but definitely not Toni Morrison, is because Alice Walker often referenced Zora Neale Hurston's books, and she only made a few of them. But you really have to go back and do some research on Alice Walker and Zora Neale Hurston, and you will see why Alice Walker loved what she loved about Zora Neale Hurston. But anyway, but thank y'all so much. Thank you. So when you hear what I was trying to say was when you hear Rico's mama talking about these same-sex relationships, he's saying it's emotional. I really believe that's what she means by that. Even, thank you, Verbal, even when she's talking about, she still is engaging in this kind of behavior, even though one side of her brain feels that it is wrong, but even though she says she loves her husband, you know what I mean, right to this day, that's part of the reason why she can't reconcile her mind with her husband possibly grooming Rico in that way. She don't even want to reconcile it in her mind, right? Because she thinks that she loves her husband. She thinks she loves her husband and will forever love her husband, even though they're not still together, because she feel like he rescued her. He felt like he's some kind of big great American hero because he married her, even though she had a child at 15, right? So she feels indebted to him. So I don't know if it's love or gratitude that she feeling, right? She says she's a traditionalist, but she's still engaging in relationships with women. And I think that is emotion. I think that possibly she's never known any type of love in her life, but she's looking for emotional connection. That's why she have these relationships with women, even though she thinks it's a sin in her mind, right? She even thinks she passed down being gay to Rico, right? She even think that. Like, you really got to pay attention. It's real unfortunate, because it's generation and generation of normalized dysfunction that I'm listening to. I'm listening to generation and generation of abuse, generation after generation of abuse. That's what I'm listening to, right? But you can't come on YouTube, like I said earlier, and look for any type of redemption or atonement or anything like that. You got to go to your God for that. And she's telling Rico in the background, shut up, you talk too much, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. Yet you continue to tell your life story. Because you're looking for atonement. Because you know that you thinking about it now that you done got older, Rico's mom. But you can't go back and redo the way that you raised Rico. Because you see him acting out in this way. Because of the way that he was raised, and you want atonement for that, and you feel sorry for that, you got to take that to your God. You can't justify it on YouTube because they're just using it as a weapon over here. Because just like me and everybody else that spoke on the subject, it's content. But when you put it out, when you put your personal business out for the world, especially on a type of platform like this, especially in the beef sector, where a lot of people are triggered real easily, and a lot of people hold vendettas against people, that they've never really met. That type of stuff goes deep because they start to internalize it. So what you're saying is going to be used as a weapon against Rico. Nobody can give you atonement online or offline. You got to go to your God for that and redemption. You got to pray for your God for forgiveness. Okay? So when you telling your son you talk too much, this, that, and the other, you are doing the same thing because you're trying to justify what Rico has to deal with as a child, and there's no justification for it. Like it happened. But when you are a young mom, like it, even if you are an old mom, you have to be cognizant of how you're raising your child and what it is that you're doing around your child, because you can't say do as I say and not as I do, and then when you get older, you come back and you feel real bad for what your child saw you do. Okay? You have to be cognizant. If you was raised up with this type of normalized dysfunction, and you raised, and then you got a child, and you're exhibiting this, you teaching, you showing your child the same thing. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think he gonna act? Huh? Even to the point to where when the kids was in the back and y'all was getting drunk or high or whatever, and this bad thing happened to Rico, and the kids is in the room, and no, you didn't see it. You didn't see it because you was in the front of the house doing what you was doing, and he's only acting out on he's doing to another child what was done to him. And how do we know that even stopped with Rico? How do we know that the stepdad didn't do it to his kids too? So when he said the little girl did what she did to him when he was 10, how do we know that that was her acting out what she had to do to her dad? You see, the whole thing is just sad. It's a whole cycle of abuse going on here, and they're passing it down to the children, and that is sad. And to weaponize that type of dysfunction is sad. But that's what go on when you put your business out. See, some of us don't have no boundaries when it comes to these YouTube streets. And when you come on here and you tell events that happen in your real life, it's going to be used as a weapon. Okay? And that's what we seen on Kimmy's chat today, right? So Kimmy, she was trying to hold it together, but when James Caldwell, aka Muva, came up there to talk, and he hit the link because he petty, and he got a long going feud with Rico, and he got a thin skin. He came up there and not only disrespected Rico, he disrespected the mama too. But here's my thing when it comes to the gay men fighting, right? Rico, y'all trying to seem like Rico is less, his dysfunction is worse than your dysfunction, mother, or your dysfunction, Jay Weasel. Making it seem like everything that y'all pay attention to what Rico, let's shine a light on Rico and his dysfunction and his mom, because we're not as bad. Our dysfunction is not as bad as Rico, but I beg to differ. You want to shine a light on Rico and his dysfunction because he got his mama up here. James Caldwell want to call out the fact that Rico's mama called him the F word. Now, I don't know if James Caldwell's mama then called him the F word or not, but he said that he had a bad relationship with his grandmama, so maybe it was his grandmama that called him the F word. Do you see what I'm saying? You disrespected that woman for no reason at all. But what do we think is going to happen when Rico's mom is jumping on here and Rico didn't bring her on? He just talking. If Rico had any sense when he started talking on Kimmy's live today, he wouldn't have been nowhere around his mama. You see what I'm saying? And she even had words back, not only with James Caldwell, I believe, with what is it? Jay Wilson tried to keep it classic, but he couldn't. All right, because he don't like women. And also, I wonder if his mama called him the F word. I'm wondering. I don't know. And also, what was his the other person? Oh, Kiki. Kiki had an issue with Rico's mom as well. And when I heard Kiki talking, the way that he was talking to Rico's mom, you see what I'm saying? I felt like it triggered something in Kiki. Something may have happened in Kiki's life that may have triggered that whole explosion when it came to Kiki. And then she started calling Kiki, saying Kiki was, whatever he was. You know, because Rico said that she do listen to the YouTube streets, right? Now, I don't even know if Rico and Kiki done ever got into it, but, you know, she was calling Kiki what she was calling Kiki, you know, for whatever reason. Just like James was calling Rico's mom whatever he was calling her mom, like for no reason. And then he got so flustered because he thin skinned and he got all of this going on with Rico. You saw that's why he came up there like that. And then he want to jump down out the panel and come back on her a few minutes later, trying to apologize to her because he called her a lesbian and she said she don't like labels. And we know that a lot of people evidently in the LGBT community don't like labels. So he said he apologized for that, but nothing else that he said about her. In the first place, and then it's true that Rico was talking about his mama as well. But of course, he's like he said, his mama would never come on here acting like that. You know, but Rico's mama did. But the anger you got is not towards Rico's mama, it's toward Rico, and Rico is a grown man. So why did you have so much anger to her is a question that I have for James Caldwell. Well, the reason why that was you know, exhibited, in my opinion, is because him and Jay Wilson in particular, and even Kiki, wanted to seem like their sin was any less worse, was Rico's sin was so much greater than theirs. And I disagree. And I disagree. So is there another Kiki in the sector now besides Ken Nola? Because that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Kiki. If there's another Kiki besides that old Kiki girl, I'm talking about Ken Nola. But anyway, I felt like because his mama came up here and they told so much of their personal life, of course this is going to be you know, thrown back in, you know, in the mom's face when she was up there and she said she, you know, she don't do this and all this and all that. But forever, you know, you gave ammunition to them to use against you, Rico, because your mom did come up and say what she say. You know, and this is all content for all of us. I don't care what nobody say because it was made public. And I'm speaking on it because it's content and I'm giving my opinion. I called it the weekend roundup. Now we ain't gonna act like it's more than content. Because when you speaking on it, when it's after, people are going to do videos about it. It's content, right? Even though I'm dropping gems, if y'all catching them, at the end of the day, it's still content because I don't know none of these people personally. Okay? So for Muva not to be called out on the way that he acted, and Kiki to be called out for the way that he was acting, being disrespectful, that is beyond me and I don't agree with it. Even Jay Wilson, because evidently Rico, worse than what was me. Oh wow. Done told a lot of this. Pretty Harder said Rico has already shared all of this with subscribers. Things are worse than what was. I can imagine. I can imagine just by, and I've never kept up with Rico. I've never done a video about Rico. I ain't never got into it with Rico or anything like that because it's just, you can listen to Rico and what he's saying, how he moves, that he's done endured a lot of trauma in his life. You see what I'm saying? You can tell, right? And then when you get his mama on here saying the things that she said, even telling about her life, her wanting some kind of atonement when it comes to the Rico's trauma, you know, because she know it was wrong. You know, for whatever happened in Rico's life when he was still a child. She know that was wrong and she want atonement for that, right? And her mind is conflicted. Her mind is conflicted when it comes to her being with other women and her, you know, saying that she love her husband, you know, that whole dichotomy, that whole issue right there with sexuality. Her mind is torn about that too. So when she come on here and call Rico a F and I understand that she did some kind of health read, you know, she's talking about herself too, you know, but then she conflicted because she says she traditional. But if you say you traditional and you believe in, you know, man and woman, you know, unions and all of this and all that, but then the other side of your mouth, you saying, wow, Yeah, I heard that before too. I heard that. I heard that. It's like a whole cycle of dysfunction. The whole situation is just sad. But guess what? When it comes to Rico's story, child, it's more common than you think. It's more common than you think. You know. And so, Duracell said Rico's mother was a teenage parent. Yeah, she said she was. As why the nana raised him. Just a big mix up. So his grandmama raised him, right? But he still saw a lot. I don't know if he saw more coming from the grandmama than the mama. But I know as far as the mama situation go, that story he was telling about the stepdad. Um, yeah, that whole thing is and so yeah, and so yeah, yeah, yeah. I do too. Kind to me, yeah, I do too. Kind to me said I feel kind of bad for Rico. Honestly, if his mom coming out, acting out. Well, she came with the grandmama alcoholic. The mama said she was alcoholic. We know Rico alcoholic. It's in the genes. You got to roll it back earlier when I spoke about that, telling your children to be careful when it comes to alcohol if you're predisposed to it genetically. You know, and so yeah. But this whole story that we heard today, and I guess folks been hearing it for a long time when it comes to Rico, the whole situation, the whole family, the whole thing is just sad. Even his mom coming out here, trying to look for redemption or atonement or whatever. That's why she kept saying, shut up and I'm fighting for my son. You do not have to come on social media to fight for your son. If you want to fight for your son, go to some therapy because it ain't never too late. You're 48 years old. If you truly want to understand what abuse has done to your family, then go to therapy. Don't come on YouTube because it ain't going to work. The whole thing is just unfortunate. It's just sad. And it ain't never too late to get help. His mom also added him and his. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't. You know what I mean? Because I really don't listen to Rico like that. But what I heard today is, I really think that it all got started because he wanted to come on and share what he thought about the thing between Jay Wilson and Briiine. And so his little side story kind of took off and it took center stage, from the Briiine and Jay Weasal conversation. But even then, Jay Weasal was still in the chat trolling. Why you trolling over here on Pizarro's channel? Tell me some people still mad about what happened last night if you ain't got nothing to do with it. That's what I wanted to know. You so insecure that you got to be trolling Pizarro's chat. And I don't know if he eventually hit the link over there or not because you insecure and you mad about what Briiine said. And you mad about Briiine because Briiine spoke his truth. But his truth didn't agree with what you want to be the truth, Jay Wilson. So that's how all that happened. Hey, Seven. But as far as, in Seven, I heard what you were saying about religion. And I agree somewhat with what you were saying about religion. But I think I know that there's a difference between religion and spirituality. And Jay Wilson is clinging on misinformation via religion. And Briiine was talking about how he felt about his lifestyle in a spiritual way, as well as Rico, because he kept saying it's a spirit, it's a spirit, it's a spirit. You know. Jay Johnson said, I don't understand why Jay Wilson and James Caldwell show so much hatred towards Rico. Because they see themselves. Both of them are afraid to tell their truth. Right. They act like them being gay is better than Rico being. That's what I was saying earlier. They dysfunction ain't no better than Rico's dysfunction, honey. It's all one and the same. It's all one and the same. They don't like to see themselves in other people. So why not demonize Rico because his gay is worse than my gay? No, honey, no. I disagree with that. That's what they were trying to do. And Jay Wilson was trying to do that too. But they all gay men. And I found it very interesting. Very, very interesting. The Rico storyline is just way too dark and grim. For the B sector, I like the reads and gags. This is, yeah, it's too real life for me. That's the reason why I came on to do this video. Because I ain't talking about the roast and the gags. I'm talking about, did y'all listen to what the story is and how sad it is? Alcoholism runs in my family. Both of my siblings never become addicted. Maybe somebody older in your family told you that, hey, like I was saying earlier, if you have this in your family, it will behoove you to tell the young people in your family, always watch out for the way you use or the amount of alcohol and drugs that you use, because we are predisposed to becoming alcoholics and drug addicts, because it's going down from generation to generation. So be careful of what you put in your mouth. Okay? Seven says, I don't like Rico's mama. Well, I mean, like, I really have not said what I think about Rico's mama, but that is just me. But let me just say, and I also heard on Pizarro's panel when what is her name? Ronnie Q was going back and forth with Trish over there, right? You do not have to have children in your own from your own self to be a mother, okay, in the first place. Because we can clearly see from what Rico's have Rico was raised, and this woman did have Rico. She said he's the only child. But there are a lot of women out here that don't have kids, can't have kids for whatever reason, like me, that are better mothers than these women out here having kids. Okay? You know. Right, Seven. And I spoke about that. The reason why she kept telling him to shut up and all this and all that is because she wanted to get her story out there, because she wanted some kind of redemption or atonement for what all went wrong, what all went wrong in Rico's childhood. But you can't, if you're looking for redemption or atonement, it ain't gonna be on social media. That's when you and your God. There is no redemption. But she put that under the guise of, I'm coming out here defending my son. Really, you defended yourself. And so, yeah. And the only reason she married her husband is because she was well. The reason why she says she will always love that husband is because she feels like, he really helped her out by marrying her, and she already had a child. But like I said earlier, he had already had kids too, and I didn't get to finish that thought. So she said she'll always love him for marrying her, and she had a child at a young age. But did he marry you for a reason? And it wasn't because of love, because it sounded to me like he married you to help take care of his kids. But you praising him for marrying you, and you had already had a kid. But did he marry you to help you take care of his children? You got to think of it that way too. And I don't think she is willing to reconcile her mind with a lot of stuff that Rico's story that Rico was telling out of his own mouth. So yeah. That's what I feel about that. Yeah, she did, Cosmic Girl, want to make it about her, because she's seeking atonement and redemption, and she's trying to explain away Rico's actions on this social media site. But you can't find redemption and atonement on social media. It's just like not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. This ain't the place for it. So yeah, this is how I feel about it. Miss Olivia, did you hear the way Rico mom was bragging about her son? I heard what Rico said his mom said about his thing. And I felt like that was inappropriate. She even bragged about that. But I didn't hear. Now, if it came out of her mouth about that actually being said, Red Rose, I didn't hear that part, but it's thoroughly disgusting. If she, talked about his thing in that way. I heard Rico say what she said about his thing and the grandkids and all of this and all of that. I heard that. But to even have him say it is very disturbing. It's very disturbing. I will say that, Oh, really? She was on Brianna's panel too. I had no idea that she was on Brianna's panel too. I had no idea. Wow. Wow. She says, well, that's what she. What? I don't. Please delete that out of my Cloud. Cloud, if you still pray harder. I don't know if she said that or not, but let me know if you delete that. Cloud. Is Cloud still in here? Please delete your comment. This one right here, pray harder. Delete that comment right there. Cloud, can you delete that comment from pray harder where you ain't gotta block her and don't block pray harder, but delete the comment up here when she says his 9 to 10 blah blah. Please delete that comment. Or you deleted yourself, pray harder. Because no, I didn't hear her say that. And that's not my. Yeah, we're not going there. And Klaus, let me know if the comment is gone because I'm on StreamYard. But please delete that, please, please. Let me know if it's deleted or not. The good thing is that she is still in Rico's life. I don't know if it's a good thing or not, honestly. And I'm just gonna keep it a buck because, like I said, just cause you can have a baby, that don't make you a mama. Okay? All I know from what I've been listening to is a life filled with dysfunction, a life overflowing with normalized dysfunction. Okay? And the boy, if he go get some help, he really can be helped. I think he can be helped for real. If he ever really wanted to, start with the alcohol and then start with that goes into the mental health issue. Do you see what I'm saying? And he's so young to where I think that he can be helped. I really do. Not online though. And I also learned she said that she like to travel from place to place. Maybe that's why Rico thank you, pray harder, travel from place to place. Right. Is it a good thing that she's still in his life? I don't think so. But thank you, pray harder, because that was just too much for me right there. I don't But like it goes to me saying, just cause you can have a baby, honey, that don't make you a mother. All right? Because from what I done seen on these YouTube streets and online and offline, when it comes to these females having babies, all of them ain't good mothers. Okay? Because when you selfish, no matter what age you are, let me tell y'all something. And I truly feel this way. It don't matter how old you are, right? Rico's mom said that she was a teenage mom. She had Rico when she was 15 years old, right? And I felt like she had up to that point been raised in an abusive situation. She said that Rico said that his granddaddy was an alcoholic and he witnessed his granddaddy beat on his mom, which means she witnessed it. She was raised up around that, right? So she done seen that type of dysfunction. Okay, you already done seen this type of dysfunction, right? And why in the world would you let your mama raise your child? Which makes sense because you were so young and you were still trying to do you and grow up, right? It's a child of a mind. Just because you can have a baby at 15 don't make you grown. It means you just had a baby at 15, okay? Right? So, like, even at 15 though, if you was raised in a life of dysfunction, right? Don't you want better for your child? And if you want better for your child, then what you try to do, what you say to yourself is self. I was raised up seeing all of this stuff, all of this bad stuff that happened to me. I didn't want a child at 15, but I got it now. And so I'm going to do my best to make sure that my child don't have to go through what I went through. You see what I'm saying? I don't want my child growing up seeing how growing up seeing me get beat on or seeing all of this stuff happen around me. So I'm going to do the best to protect my child the best way that I know how. I don't want my child seeing this. I want what's better for my child. So I just think that it's real selfish And I have seen a lot of so-called mamas on and off YouTube that are selfish. When you don't put your kids first, especially if you don't been something mistreated as a child. You're supposed to want the best for your kids. So you don't put them through dysfunction and try to normalize it. You are not a mother. And that's just how I feel about it. You're supposed to want better for your kids. You selfish when you do you. And unfortunately, I think that happened in Rico's case. She was so busy doing her that she said him slap down in the midst of dysfunction. Because if Rico's grandmama raised him, and all of that stuff was already going on in Rico's grandmama's house, that's putting him right slap down in the midst of dysfunction. And a lot of some of raising she did, I don't think that Rico's grandmama raised him all the time. Because clearly he was in the mama's house some too. So you got to be careful with coming on here and oversharing. Okay? It's just a sad, sad thing. Some people don't have no boundaries. You don't come online telling your life story. Because it's only going to be weaponized. And people are going to talk about it. Like I said, for me, it's content. Because that's what happens when you come out and you put your business in the street on a platform full of reactors. And you done got into it with some of the reactors. And they've taken it personally. James, Jay Wilson, and the other one. You know, they've taken it personally, and so yeah, they're going to weaponize it. You know, like I said, I don't know if Rico's mama was drunk, and I don't even know if she still drink. But you didn't help. You hurt, and it was very selfish for you to go from platform to platform, telling people about your family life as a mother, because you are older and you 48 years old. Now, see, I was getting to this part, but y'all just rushed me right along. Because I got words for the mama, too. Now, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for that child and her that had to witness this type of dysfunction. I feel sorry for that child and Rico that had to witness this type of dysfunction, right? So if Rico is the only child, right? And he says, here's what's scary to me. Rico is the only child of his mom, right? They got a cycle of this type of abuse in their family. So if Rico never has a child, then that cycle of abuse is going to be extinguished when it comes to Rico, right? If he never has a child. But what if, because he's still young, and he says he likes women and men, what if he gets somebody pregnant and up pop a child in the midst of all of this dysfunction? But Rico, before that ever happens, honey, please go get you some help and get away from your mama and your whole family, because you don't have to be around them. Because some of this right here, this ain't love. It's dysfunction. And your mama is still very selfish right to this day. And she's looking for redemption and atonement. And you can't do it on here. It's just not going to happen. Like, you just shouldn't have done it in the first place. Like, you're supposed to want better for your kids. Even in the midst of all that dysfunction. Wherever you are and wherever you are, whatever level you in life, if you have a child, you are supposed to want better for your kids. He needs to see someone. Rico would be benefited from. He would have greatly benefited from foster care, I think, honestly. But now here's the tricky thing about foster care. The same thing could have happened to him in foster care. But let's just say he went into foster care and nothing like that happened to him. We would have been seeing a different Rico. You know, perhaps, set taken out of that environment, we would have never known anything about Rico. Do you see what I'm saying? But so yes, I think that he greatly would have benefited from foster care in the right foster home. I do agree with that, 7. Yes, I do. Absolutely. She kept putting him down and calling him the F word by our own panel. So that was wrong. That was wrong. Now, I did not hear her because, like I said, I was red balling. But it was said several times that, hey, but I did her on Kimmy's would say, she said, he the F word and and she, whatever she was calling herself. Now, I did hear her say that. And yes, it was wrong. Absolutely, it was wrong. Absolutely. Hmm. He did leave. The mom followed once he got, that place to stay. Then she moved in with him. So she trying to live off of him. Child. Because she said she moved around from place to place too. So that's why he moved around from place to place. He used to that type of lifestyle. Now we know why Rico moved around from place to place. And now she done followed him to New York, trying to stay with him. Child. Hello, everyone. Just stopping by to say hi. Fast forward to Rico being an only child is sad because it sounds like he has no one to depend on for support. I absolutely agree. But if he had a brother or a sister or whatever, they would have grown up in the same cycle of abuse. So, yeah. She is physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive, projected onto. I absolutely agree with that, Seven. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And you can tell kind of what type of upbringing he had by the words that coming out of her mouth as an adult, because she is still very selfish when it comes to that boy. And even now, the best thing that he can do is get away from all of them and go get some help for real. Stop trying to exist and just try to make it and go get yourself some help. Like, you need to be in an inpatient facility and away from your people for a good long time. And there are programs like that after, honestly. Did you hear the story of the biological father? The only thing I heard about the biological father was that he didn't meet his bio dad until he was 26 years old. But Rico, doing this whole thing with older men, I think that is because of what may have happened to him when he was 6 years old. And there's a little boy in him that wants a dad that's not gonna mistreat him. And so, yeah, but you can't find that from these types of relationships, Rico. Unfortunately, you are a grown man now, and you are never going to find the type of father that you wish you had, baby, when you was a child. Unfortunately, that time has passed, and you're gonna have to reconcile your mind with that and move forward. But it would be of great interest of you to get away from your people and go get yourself some help for real, because you are very talented, sir, from what I've seen, and you can express yourself well, and you make a lot of sense when you're talking like you got some sense. You don't need these people. Sometimes you have to create yourself a family and get the hell away from your biological family if they don't mean you no good. You don't have to continue this cycle of violence and this dysfunction, because you are too engaging in normalized dysfunction. That's why you was able to get on here and tell your story the way that you told it, Rico, because in your mind it's normal. And it's normal in your mind because it was done to you. That's why it was normal in your mind. That's why you didn't have no problem coming on here saying all that stuff, because it was normal to you. It's normal to you because it was done to you first. That's the reason why. It's called normalized dysfunction. That's all. That's what it is. My mom doesn't even realize how toxic her back. Yeah. And she tops it all off with, I'm protecting my son. No, you're really not. And when he did, the father didn't want nothing to do with him once he found out. Oh, is that right? Oh, wow. The cousin that introduced him to his father was someone he was hooking up with. Wow, really? The guy got upset once Rico didn't want to. What? Wow. See, it's just a whole chain of unfortunate events that's not happening in that young man's life. You know what I mean? And it's just really very sad. It really is very sad. But I found it very interesting, the way that the guys were going at it this weekend. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Because at the bottom line, when it came, and I saw Honest Roll, he hopped on a some panels as well, trying to be the voice of reason. I thought that was cool, but you cannot rationalize madness. You cannot reason with madness. And what we were seeing when it came to Rico and his whole storyline was trying to reason with madness, right? Like I said, Briine's situation with Jay Weasel and the way Briiine felt about his own self, that kind of just washed down the river when Rico's mom came up and she took center stage. I'm like, wow. Like I must say, I was really shocked that his mom started speaking like that. I was really shocked. I'm not even gonna lie, cause and I believe James was telling the truth when he said my mother would never come online, acting like this or saying these things. I believe that. I believe that. Yes, I do. Yeah, but we can clearly see the cycle of dysfunction is continuing, and it's unfortunate, And so yeah, and so yeah. So that is my take on all of that, y'all. I was like, wow. I'm sure it's some stuff I done forgot, but child, the whole thing was just sad. Just sad. Yeah, I'm glad James got in her A. Well, see, the reason why James got in her A, but see, James was out of order. The only reason why he got in her A was because he feel a way about Rico. So I'm not giving James a pass either. At all. I'm not. Because I see what he was doing. And it was very thin skinned and it was very spiteful. If nobody else ain't gonna call him out on it, I will. Jay Weasel did the same thing. Trying to make it seem Rico's gay is worse than they're gay. Nope. I don't. I disagree. My mom would never come online and say this about me, but who said it offline about you, James? You too, Jay Wilson. Who said it offline about you? I ain't giving none of them a pass at all. Nope. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Rico ain't no worse gay than they are. That's just how I feel about it. Anyway, moving right along. But for future reference, Rico mom, if you're listening, don't do that. That is out of order. Don't give people ammunition against your son. You really want to protect your son. You can't protect your son from social media. If he gonna jump on and hit the live button, whether you there or not, he gonna jump on and hit the live button. Because like I said, a lot of people hold a lot of vendettas towards people they ain't never really actually ever met them. But when it comes to words and some people, it's something else. Mm-hmm. It is something else. James can't talk about nobody mama or nobody lifestyle or nobody whatever, just cause you done told us a lot about what done happened to you in your past. Your mama ain't never said it to you, but your grandmama did. Okay, and your mama probably did too. Mm-hmm. I hope this conversation continues. We'll love to hear Jay Wilson and Mother's responses. Yeah, I'm sure they'll respond. I don't give a damn. I would never understand how JW and JC find it so funny to bully Rico, who's younger, enough to be their child. Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? She said her husband was bisexual as well. Really? And they have an open. Now I did hear the part about the open. That's why I said the whole double-minded thing. It's the whole double-minded thing for me. They didn't throwing God in the mix, and it's a lot. It's a lot. You can't find redemption and atonement, like I said, on these YouTube streets. It's just not going to work for you. It's going to turn into commentary. And we all are doing commentary. All right. None of us are YouTube therapists. There is no YouTube therapy here. It's just commentary. If you want redemption and atonement, it's between you and your God in the midnight hour in your own uh, 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 personal relationship with your God. That's how you find a redemption and atonement. You ain't coming on here saving Rico for nothing, from nothing, because Rico gonna continue to do Rico on these YouTube streets with or without you being present. Hopefully, for future reference, it'll be while you're not present, because you ain't doing nothing but making it worse. Mm-hmm. So if Kiki wasn't allowed to act up, then why was John? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Kiki's, like I said, I think Kiki was triggered too. I think Kiki was triggered by the mom. Rico didn't have a choice. Rico didn't have a chance as a child. He really did not. Hey, Kimmy. Kimmy said, I'm sorry. His mom was very unkind and mean to James and Kiki. Right. They could only take so much. Well, I mean, hey, you know, that's fine. But all I'm talking about is, and I didn't hear all the, I'm sure she was in defense of herself, Kimmy. Like I said, I was red balling through. But James was still had an order. He was still out of order, and Kiki was too, and she was too. And she was unkind to them, you know. But it was still thin skinned to me. That was triggered. But his mama never should have jumped off. She kept jumping. And I didn't even know she had been on Brianna's platform as well as. Now I knew she was on Pizarro's and yours, but I didn't even know that she was on Brianna's platform. I mean, she was just talking all day, wasn't she? Rico basically had to raise himself and learn his gender roles on his own. And I think that whole thing is distorted. And so, but now if she was talking crazy to James and Kiki, okay, all right. But I still think they was triggered. Mm-hmm. And James, if you didn't think you did nothing wrong or said nothing wrong to that lady, why did you come in and apologize for you saying, you sorry for calling her a lesbian? But that's it. That's all. Everything that you said you meant. That don't even make sense to me. Serena appears to be bipolar. She couldn't remember things that she was saying. I noticed that too. So I don't know if she was intoxicated or clearly she got some kind of mental health issue going on. Like, why wouldn't she? Um, and so yeah, what James said was wholly disrespectful. Period. Absolutely, it was hard to sort it out between him and his mom. Yeah, yeah. Now I agree with that, Kimmy. I do. It's just so much. It was just so much, so much. People need to have boundaries. It's some stuff you don't share on social media because it's going to be weaponized. I saw you try to redirect the conversation, but I gave yes, and I heard you. If y'all ain't seen Kimmy's video, y'all see Kimmy on there trying to get it back on track. But grown folks gonna be grown folks, and when the shots get to flying, the shots is gonna get to flying, the back and forth, and it's only so much you can redirect. And after a while, hey, it just is what it is, you know. And so yeah, what's sad is the way she keep pressing him to have kids with a woman, knowing his preferences, partnership. I think it is good that Rico don't have no kids, and she don't need no grandkids, cause she ain't even reconciled her, but she ain't even tried to work out her dysfunction in her own life. So I'm glad Rico ain't had no kids. So don't listen to that, Rico. Don't you ever have kids until you get away from your mama and get some help for yourself, baby. Till you work through your issues. And hopefully you realize that that's why you ain't got none. If you ain't got none, don't have none. Because if you never have none in the midst of all this dysfunction, that means you ain't got an answer to God for screwing up another human being because of dysfunction. That's what that means. All right? You won't have to pay for that. Because if you are a parent and you done screwed up your child, especially because you selfish, you best believe you're going to have to stand and answer for it. And his mama know that. That's why she's looking for atonement and redemption. And she can't find it on these YouTube streets, like I said. Nope, between you and your God. This is how I feel about it. Uh-huh. Having grandkids is just some It's just some his mom sees as an accessory prize. Well, I would have, yeah, sound that way. Pressing Rico to continue the cycle of dysfunction is not cool. You ought to be happy he ain't got no kids. What you want him to do? Have kids and they have to be raised by you at your current state? That's not gonna work. Too many human beings. It's too many dysfunctional people in this world that's dysfunctional because of how they was raised. Because some people like Rico, and it just ain't Rico, but some people never have a chance at anything symbolizing a normal life. Simply because how they grew. You ain't had a chance since birth. Some people never have a chance. From birth, they never have a chance. And that's not right. Because you are supposed to want more for your children than to be freaking selfish. First thing first, stop telling Rico to shut. That's true too. Stop telling Rico to shut up, and he the one that's supposed to be talking because it's his platform. You so worried about getting your story out. Like I said, atonement, that he can't even finish what he got going on because you trying to overtalk him, and he is the content creator in the sector. But you want to override what he got to say to the people that he beefing with because you trying to justify this whatever you trying to justify in your own mind. In the first place, you got to realize she heard Rico talking in the background because she was there, and then she started feeling guilty. And from then, she started trying to rationalize it in her eye, trying to normalize this function, normalize how she screwed up this human being in her mind, and she couldn't take it no more. And then she comes out talking about something she's swinging for Rico, but really at the end of the day, you swinging for yourself. But in your mind, I believe that at first you thought you was swinging for Rico. But Rico been on here going back and forth with these people forever. So when they hear something like this, you was a gold mine for them. Because what you did was provide more bullets for them against Rico. That's what you did. So you did more harm than good. Once again, when it comes to Rico and his life, his mom did more harm than good. Now, I did not want to get out here and talk about this lady, but that's how I feel. Simply because every female that can have a baby, that doesn't make them a mother. Okay? Especially when you're selfish. And when you put yourself first, even when it comes to redemption and atonement, you are selfish. Period. And didn't nobody ask you to come out here and tell your story. You volunteered it. Make it so bad. You know. It's very cringeworthy. The whole thing was cringeworthy. But I'm not giving nobody a pass on what I saw. So, whatever. That's just how I feel about it. I don't care. Those are my honest opinions on what I saw. When it pertains to whoever I spoke about. Because none of them don't get no pass with me. And I don't care. Moving right along. Rico has told us how he didn't get along with his mom. I was surprised that she was squatting at his place. Now, I'm not surprised. She said she moved around from place to place. That's where Rico got it from. So now, she know he in Chicago, and I mean New York, and he got his own place. Of course, she gonna be squatting there too. You know, until they get into it with each other, and hopefully she won't get Rico put out, because him and her gonna get into it. Because that's what's gonna happen. Hopefully he'll put her out, and he still have his place to stay, you know, so he can continue to have his place to stay. Hopefully he won't destroy that by letting her destroy it. She totally threw her son under the bus. The way she kept shouting him, shouting him into submission. Well, yeah, absolutely. I agree. I can agree with that, Red Rose. Absolutely. Kept telling him to shut up and all. You inserting yourself. But that was just a perfect example of how he was raised. Honestly, in my opinion, it's just an example of how he was raised. Selfishness. Just selfish. You don't even know the level of beef that he got going back and forth with these people, but you so you know, trying to get your point across about your lifestyle, trying to justify it in some kind of way. You putting to the side what he got going on. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to this, that, and the other. I come in peace. I'm not used to this. But you jumping on everybody's platform. You done found out where he live in New York. Now you done moved in on him there. You know. I hope she doesn't ruin this for him. I agree, Bray Harder. Absolutely. I always wondered who lady was in Rico's background. I thought she was a friend. Well, now we know it's his mom. The fact that she has to lean on Rico for a place to stay speaks volumes, absolutely, on where she is in her life. I absolutely agree. Where is her so-called husband? But from what I understand, they've been split up forever, but she still loves him, so she says, and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. But why you still love him, why you don't want to hear Rico's truth about him, it's just I just it's just like it's exhausting. This whole thing was exhausting, you know. And so yeah, but everybody's posed very valid questions, you know. But so let me get on this real fast. I didn't even realize I've been talking for 2 hours, child. But look, that is what I saw. Those are my reactions to what I saw. I hate that his mom even started speaking on here on whoever's panel because I think that it was very detrimental as it pertains to Rico and these YouTube streets. You didn't do anything to help him. You gave his enemies more weapons that they can use against him, you know, and you kept talking and you got used to it and you kept talking. But if you want to talk about your past, if you want to reconcile your mind to your past, okay, what you do is you go to therapy. You don't go to YouTube. And don't try to insert yourself into your son's conversation they having on social media because you're doing more harm than good. That is just how I feel about it. Miss O, do you think Rico will receive this commentary well, or will he be offended or defended? I don't know, but this is just how I feel. I don't know. I don't know. But this is just how I feel. This is just my honest opinion on. This is just my reaction to what I saw. So yeah. But when you, like I said, when you put your business out there on YouTube, it's commentary now, and if it's public, people have a right to respond to it publicly. So if you don't want it discussed, then don't put it out there because it's gonna be discussed. Okay, that's why you have to set boundaries for yourself and don't come online telling everybody your dang on personal business, especially your family business. Okay, you see how that works? Mm, I'm just saying. Mm. But anyway, these are my honest opinions about how I feel. Moving right along before I get off here because I didn't realize it's been so long. But the last part was, and thanks L. Edwards for putting up the title because I would have forgot. Because y'all see I've been going on and on. So I guess we're down to the TiCi Dazzle Blurp situation. Now, uh, all I know about this is evidently folks still talking in the background, child. This ain't nothing new, especially when it comes to Blurp. Okay, so TC, the little bit I heard. Now I ain't got all the tea on this, but I just heard bits and pieces. So I understand TC. From what I understand, TC and Dazzle um was friends behind the scene. Like actually talking to each other on the phone, all this and all that. I don't know what happened with Dazzle saying what she said about TC on Blurp's channel, but evidently it was said, some things were said out of Dazzle's mouth, and maybe TC and Dazzle was up there. I don't know. But Dazzle was saying some things that TC said, and TC came out and said she got the receipts that Dazzle was talking about Blurp. I mean, is anybody really surprised about when it's a whole lot of y'all that everybody in the background is talking about Blurp. I mean, like, honestly, really, are we surprised? Are we surprised that eventually the subject is going to come up about how gross they think Blurp is? Like, are we even surprised? Let me fast forward. So TiCi came out and said some stuff about Dazzle being having many personalities. You know, when it comes to these YouTube streets or content creators. I found it very interesting. I found it interesting about what TC said about uh Dazzle and the married man part thingy. But I have to listen to more of that. But I just wanted to kind of come out and say the reason why that is in the title is because of I don't know a lot of the dynamics about that situation, the back and forth. I heard her say about the back and forth, and now they're going around and saying Dazzle is mistreating the old folks in the old folks home because of what TC said. TC across the water. I heard that Dazzle said some stuff about TC husband, so of course TC is gonna come back and spill some tea about her, but it's all surrounded by um what Blurp is in the midst of it all. Okay, but it's not surprising to me that TC and Dazzle done had a conversation about how disgusting Blurp is because we know that Blurp is disgusting. Blurp is always in the background because Blurp is yet another gluttony demon that's always that her whole life revolves around social media. And but these demons have slick tongues about themselves because they're snakes. Okay, because we know that all demons are snakes because that's what Lucifer was, right? They all slither on the ground on their tummies. Now, oh, when it comes to blurping being a snake, God dang it, she gotta be like a python or something. Anyway, to be able to move all that weight around. But anyway, I am not surprised that um TC and Dazzle had a conversation about how disgusting Blurp is. Not surprised at all. Because Blurp, like I said, is always in the background. She always want to know people business, and you think you can touch Blurp because she's a big old. You think you can trust Blurp because she's a big old biscuit eater. Not only is she shaped like a biscuit, she looked like a biscuit. She is a biscuit. So for that reason, you think you can touch that big old biscuit, and then you find out how disgusting that biscuit is, because that biscuit is really a black-hearted biscuit, and that biscuit don't like none of y'all because of the way the biscuit is. Okay, the biscuit don't like nobody because of the biscuit's life. Okay, and so when stuff like this get exposed, I'm not even surprised. Now I don't know why Dazzle and TC got into it originally to start exposing all this stuff because I ain't heard that yet. Maybe somebody can drop it in the chat. So I don't even know how this conversation between Dazzle and TC got started, this exposing that they're doing on each other. Can somebody tell me how it got started? But I'm not surprised that Blurp is involved, especially because it was a lot of it was behind the scenes. So yeah, not surprised, not shocked, not surprised, not any of that. But that's all I know about that right now. Um, so what do they think is gonna happen when you talking behind the scenes? Stuff is gonna be exposed. Now TC saying she got some receipts to back up her claims. Now we know that there are a lot of receipts looming around here, and so we're gonna have to see if TC drops any of those receipts. You know, because supposedly though I did hear that she may be giving those receipts to Kimmy, and we know that if Kimmy gets those receipts, Kimmy is not going to be shy about revealing those receipts if TC gives them to her about the conversations between her and Dazzle. I hear a lot about receipts on here, and really I'm always disappointed because very little of those receipts are ever brought to the public. I don't know why even bring it up if you're not gonna come out with the whole thing. I think it's weak for people to have receipts and not show the dang on receipts. That mean you weak. That's how I feel about it. But I'm also not surprised that they had these conversations about Blurp, because they are probably equally grossed out about Blurp. As grossed out as old girl was, and she's still sitting on the powder. She done said all all this stuff about Blurp, and they are still entertaining that thing. Okay? The thing is still around. But my thing is, if you really is somebody bestie, how you still gonna have that thing up on your panel when then you can come out and shout and scream about some things that have been said about your bestie, but yet still I have yet to hear big ass mouth Pizarro say anything towards this heat about this heat calling Blurp a feed E and her man being a feeder. I have yet to hear anything about that. Has Pizarro cussed out Flicker for saying that her bestest man was a feeder, which means she is a feed E? Has she done that yet? Cause I seen her still up on the panel. Now I did see, and I thought it was cool how Ronnie Q was gathering. I seen Ronnie Q up there gathering. I did. That was cool. But I've yet to see, and now I may be wrong. Maybe Pizarro has admonished this heat's commentary concerning her bestie, but I haven't heard it. Don't know if anybody's heard it or not, but I ain't heard it. And I'm still waiting for that. But that's your bestie, right, child? But it's all commentary. Anyway, that's all I got, people. I'm getting off here. I've been over for over 2 hours. I've done talked way too long. But um this is just my honest opinion on the events that have happened. The whole situation between Rico and his mom and all that was very sad to me. I thought it was very interesting that the gays were fighting this weekend. I found it very interesting. I sensed a lot of self hate and insecurity. I felt like a lot of people are not wanting to acknowledge their dysfunction. They want to shine the light though on other people's dysfunction, but don't want the light shown on theirs. Okay? And so that's just how I feel about it. And as for Rico's mom, you can't find redemption and atonement on these YouTube streets. Rico's mom, Rico, if I were you, if I wanted to, before I slipped up and had a kid, please, honestly, go get yourself some help because there is help out there. You don't have to be this confused, you know. And if you actually ever go get yourself some help for real, and you serious about that help, stay away from your people and stay away from YouTube, so you won't be triggered, you know. And I wish you the best in life, like you and your mom. I wish y'all the best, Briiine. I wish you the best, you know. And so, yeah. Jay Weasel is just a reprobate, so it is what it is. I wish him justice, according to the law. Child mother. I just wish. Whatever. TiCi and Dazzle, y'all and Blurp, I have to find more out about that. And we'll have to see if any receipts are going to be dropped. And I guess that's just it. That's all I got. I hope that you guys have a wonderful start to your week. Next week, Monday. You all be safe. Thanks for tuning in. If you came in late, please be part of the replay gang. Please hit the like button on your way out the door if you haven't. And I'm gonna talk to you guys later. All right. Y'all hit the one for me real fast if y'all enjoyed any parts of this commentary. I like having these types of discussion when it comes to, especially when it comes to situations like this in family and dysfunction. Because YouTube is not therapy. For real. Don't be putting your business out there like that. Right? It's not a good thing. You know. Thank you. Thank you, Pandora. Thank you, Slick Chicks, Visually Impaired Life. Thank you, Wise Al. Thank you. I'm glad some of y'all got something out of this. I appreciate it, y'all. So, Like I said, that's all I got. Um, yeah. I hope that whoever needed to hear this heard this, and not in a bad way. Actually, I hope that you just heard what it is that I was trying to say. You know, thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Sassy Francis. I hope that you really heard. I hope that you listened from the heart and you heard what it was that I was trying to say. You know, and so on that note, love you guys. Have a wonderful work week, and I'm going to talk to you guys later. Bye bye. Peace.